Yeah.
All right, well, let's just get started. Hey, everybody, this is Julie Pankey, and I'm with a really fun group this morning. Thanks for joining us live in the Hive and live from Thrive Hive in Boston. So we have the SpaHive and Thrive Hive, who's one of our esteemed marketing partners. So we're very grateful to have them on the line. And some of you have already met Emily Weisberg. Hey, Emily.
Hi.
And today she's brought with her some of the interns from Thrive Hive that just happen to be millennials. So welcome, Emily, Devin, and Sabrina. Hey, guys. And let's just get right into some of the questions that I'm seeing people jumping on the call. What I'm going to do is, as everyone joins the call, I'm just going to mute your line. If you have any questions at the bottom of the screen, you can see the chat box, and you can go ahead and click the chat box. I'll be monitoring it throughout the call. And if you have any questions for the group, just go ahead and ask the questions there. So my first question to everyone is, well, introduce yourself. I know we said your names. Let me know where you go to school, what you're studying, what you've been doing with Thrive Hive this summer.
All right, I'll start real quick just to reintroduce myself to everyone. My name is Emily Weisberg, and I'm a Senior Content Marketing Manager at Thrive Hive, which means that I help small business owners understand more about marketing and how to market their business. And it's my job to educate people, which is why we work with Julie, so that we can help you guys via education as well. My background in terms of spas is that I love them. The most common treatments that I get are definitely massages, manicures, and pedicures. And spas are awesome. And I'll move on to Devin.
So my name is Devin Heavey. I'm going to be a senior at James Madison University, which is in Virginia. This summer, I've been working in content marketing, so my major is communications, so that really aligns with my major. And I also love spas. I'm a frequent spa goer, and I get massages, pedicures, manicures all the time.
Yeah, I'm Emma. I go to school in Occidental College out in Los Angeles. I'm a politics major and an art history minor, and I'll be a junior this fall. And I also love spas. I get massages very frequently, and also mani-pedis and facials.
Hi guys, I'm Sabrina. I'm going to be a senior at Marist College in Poughkeepsie, New York. I'm majoring in advertising and journalism. And right now I'm working with the social media department and creating Facebook, Instagram ads, as well as Facebook pixels and content calendars. But I'm a freaking spa goer. I was just telling them I'm going today. But I love getting manis, pedis, as well as facials.
Well, we're all jealous of you, Sabrina. Well, thank you for joining us and taking a few minutes out of your busy day at Thrive Hive to help educate our SpaHive community members and the members of the spa community a little bit more about the millennials, which when we talked about it at our SpaHive conference that Emily attended in Providence, you know, everyone always says, oh, the dreaded millennial, you know, we can't manage them. How do we market to them? Which I find super comical because, you know, I was like the dreaded, Gen Xer. You know what I mean? That I'm sure every generation before is like, oh, like this next generation is completely different from what we were. So I want to kind of bust through some of the, you know, misdemeanors, is that the right thing? Maybe not, I don't know the right word, but and kind of get to the heart of, you know, what millennials find really important and how we can manage them better in our businesses and how we can market to them better in our spas. So the first question is, a few years ago, Time magazine published a cover story called The Me Generation, stating millennials are lazy, entitled narcissists who still live with their parents. It was, of course, I feel like it was clickbait, directed towards baby boomers because, that's really a big demographic for Time magazine. However, how do you feel when the word millennial is used to describe you?
I'll start.
Go for it,
So for me, millennials, obviously I am millennial, so I view it with pride. I think that our generation's really educated on what we're buying, and we really want to know what we're buying so we buy a good product. It's less about how much we're buying and more about what we're buying and the reviews that follow that. So I don't think that we're all about the me. I think we're all about the how good is the product and when we're buying stuff.
I agree. A lot of us, me and Emma are talking about a lot before I go somewhere or before I buy it. I look at reviews. Before I buy something on Amazon or go to a spa, I check out their website. I ask around who's been there. It's not, okay, this looks good. I want to know what other people feel about it.
Yeah, I feel like the millennial is someone who's very aware, and they're very self-aware, and they're aware of how they promote themselves, and because of that, they're aware of how other businesses promote themselves, and they're aware of all the resources out there to help educate them on making sure they're getting the right product. I feel like there are a lot less impulsivity that goes into getting something, and a lot more awareness and research, because we're so hyper-aware, which I think can be a negative if, obviously anything in excess is a negative, but I feel like it is definitely can be a positive.
And I'll echo that sentiment that Emma just mentioned. The fact that, we are all online. And I think that that's something that another generation like baby boomers will not necessarily understand, because they were a little bit, over the hump in terms of the age when adoption of technology really started. They were already adults when the internet came and when AOL Instant Messenger and stuff like that. I remember getting online, I'm the older end of the millennial spectrum, and I remember getting online on Prodigy when I was in elementary school. But, these guys probably don't even know what Prodigy is. And so, they were lucky enough to really be brought up with it. And so social media and the internet has really been more of an organic way for millennials to communicate, for this younger generation to communicate, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad just because it's different. And I think that that's a big disconnect that, whomever wrote that in Time magazine, maybe they don't like the fact that someone already always has their nose in something, but it doesn't mean that they're always taking selfies. Maybe their nose is in something because they're reading Time. So I think that it's definitely a misnomer to label millennials as selfish. It's one of the most hyper aware and socially active generations since, I think, the baby boomers themselves. They were strong activist generation. And I think that we're a very similar generation in terms of activism and wanting to know and spread knowledge. It's just a different means of doing that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I would agree. I mean, I'm coming at this kind of interview as a devil's advocate, but I definitely agree. So my next question is, and I know you guys loved this question, and these ladies were prepped with the questions, but I do have some that we didn't ask ahead of time as well. What do you feel are your core values? Is it true that you only care about having fun, being famous, and getting rich? I know it's not true, but yeah, you should, and don't forget #SpaHive.
Yeah, being famous and rich would be nice, but that's definitely not a core value of millennials. We really value honesty and how you are communicating with your customers, how you're communicating with your employees. We kind of expect good treatment. I think that's okay to expect. So I really think that being honest and transparent with millennials is going to be the best way to go about it.
I agree. I don't even know what to say.
Just like openness, transparency, I think that's so important because now online you can really research anything. And I think that value is just, it just appeals to us because we want to know what we're getting into, whether it be a job, whether it be a product. It's something that, you know, we like to investigate. And that's definitely a value. I'm trying to think what else. I feel like teamwork is definitely a value. We value camaraderie. And I think that's especially valuable to implement in the workplace.
Yeah, and I think also, you know, this whole everyone wants to be a celebrity thing is sensationalized a bit. The fact that growing up, like we joke around in the office, I said, you know, I remember when you had to have a .edu and be invited, .edu email address and be invited to Facebook. Like, that's how old I am. And they're like, what? But, you know, the truth is that there is a split between people who adopted technology and, again, like people who already had it ingrained in their life. And when you go from a generation where getting attention is getting a trophy and like getting a prize, like how I was growing up and probably you were growing up, Julie, versus now a generation where everyone gets a trophy, everyone gets a participation ribbon, and your only way for getting any individual accolade is by standing out online. So I think that there's a little bit, you know, it's not that everyone wants to be a celebrity, it's not that people are narcissistic and self-absorbed, but sometimes it is a way to differentiate yourselves from other people, especially when in group settings, we've been babying or hand-holding or patting everyone on the back for a job well done, regardless of whether or not that's the truth. So, I don't know, some people do want to be celebrities there. Some people are narcissists. We see that in all ages now.
Right, exactly. That's every generation.
Yeah.
And I know you've all been to spa, so that's awesome. You know, we're actually talking to our consumer here, you know, our spa audience. What do you look for when you go to a spa? I know you talked a little bit about a few minutes ago that you do research online, you talk to your friends, you know, probably like on Facebook or whatever, Instagram, and see if they've been. How important is an online presence when you're researching a spa? If you go to a spa who has not a great website, not a very good social media presence, do you pass them over? How important is that for you?
Yeah, you want to start?
Go, okay. 100%. I mean, first of all, I look it up, see if there's any pictures from Google, from their website. If there is a website, I look through it. Pictures are always a great idea. I like to see if it's clean, like what it looks like, what kind of like vibe I would get when I walked in. I've been to places where I haven't even checked it, so because just from peers, just seeing, oh, you have to go here. So I don't even look it up. I just go, and then right away, just from looking in it, how do I feel when I get there? Are people greeting me? Are people just like, oh, wait, oh, like pick a color? Like, how am I communicated with? Like, am I welcomed into the spa? Or, like, that's an awesome.
Yeah, and kind of building off that. I feel like what an online presence does is like a pre-introduction to how you're going to feel when you enter the spa. And for me personally, when I'm looking at a spa to go to, I mean, obviously I'm looking at local ones, but if I'm trying to research between the local ones, you know, you want to do, you want to investigate, and you want to see, you know, which website just has more information, is more visually accessible. And then also something I find really helpful is it's so nice to be able to have like a little tab where you have like all of the links to your social media or like articles you were featured in, because that makes the investigation so much less time consuming for us as the potential customer. So we don't have to search and Google that. Like, it's just all on one page and it's all right there in a very clean, appealing format.
Yeah, and going off that, something
That's a good tip, Emma. That's a good tip.
Definitely. Going off that, something that you might not think about is having your address like really visible, so I can just click on it, and if I'm looking for a spa close by and I don't want to look up directions to the spa, like having it right there, it makes it a better process for me to find out where you are by the side to go to. And sometimes if they don't have a direction or address, I just will not go to it because I don't want to deal with the hassle.
And something that I was going to mention that touches on both of those points is living in the city of Boston. You know, I live in the city, but there are plenty of places outside of the city. This goes for people who are city dwellers as well as suburbanites. When you're looking at a place, you want something that's convenient, whether it's going to be convenient to your work or your home or wherever you're going that day. So I very often go to Google Maps and search around a target location for spa or nails or something like that. And if I see a location and I click on it and it doesn't have like a link to the website, or it doesn't have a Google, I think it's like the Google Plus page that has like all of the photos and everything, or Google My Business page, it's very easy to pass over. And I did this just when I was on vacation in Florida a couple weeks ago. I was looking for spas around the area for a couples massage for myself and my husband, and I just went to the maps, typed in spa, and I was quickly just clicking. And it really helps eliminate, because we didn't have a car, we were just Ubering all over, and it really helps eliminate all of the barriers when you can click through, see what's going on, have a seamless process to go to their website, even better if you can request an appointment online. And that's really what tips the scales sometimes.
Yeah, going off that, I feel like people don't always like to have to call. I feel like millennials in particular, we don't like picking up the phone. So I feel like it's super valuable if there is an option to book it online or request a consultation.
I was just going to ask you that.
Interaction.
So online booking makes it much easier for you to select a place.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, especially when you're working full time or you have classes, you're in school. I booked a spa appointment at like 6 o'clock in the morning when I was snoozing in bed, you know, I'm like, scrolling through, all right, sure, okay, great. And they weren't open yet, obviously. Would I have remembered to call during the day? Probably not, because we're all so busy. So I sent an email, I got an email back when they opened, here are our times, here are our dates, done, bing, bam, boom. I didn't speak to someone until I walked in the spa.
And I mean, that's a good point, you know, that we have to look at the fact that, you know, your generation isn't going to pick up the phone. You know, sometimes you will, there's always, you know, exceptions to the rule, but if we can make it super easy for you to get the information you need and to access the products that you want, then you're much more likely to choose us over somewhere else.
Yeah, and like Emily said, it doesn't even have to be, because I know like the platforms where you enter that in, like it must be kind of complicated, but it could just be like an email, like email us for an appointment. It can be that simple, and that can be very impactful.
Awesome. And now one question just came through, and it's funny that we were talking about microblading before this call. And the question is, if you're researching like a niche service like microblading, so we'll use that as an example because, you know, it's kind of a trend right now. So if you're wanting to book something like that, microblading, you know, I'm trying to think what else right now off the top of my head.
Eyelash extensions.
Eyelash extensions. You know, something that's a trend right now. How do you go about researching it? How do you go about deciding who you're going to go to? Because let's use microblading as an example, or eyelash extensions as an example. You know, you want to go somewhere, you know, with good hygiene, you know, that, you know, is a reputable place. You know, do you go for the Groupon? Do you look and say, hey, I can get, you know, my lashes done for $39 here, you know, at Sandy's Day Spa with my Groupon versus $139 at, you know, Bella Sante, let's just say.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it's a twofold because one, I love to see before and after photos as actual concrete evidence. And then two, I think probably more so with microblading than the eyelash extensions. I feel like you kind of have to think about what the customer's initial apprehensions or worries would be. For example, with microblading, like, will it be too strong? Will it be too harsh? So I feel like it would be reassuring as a potential customer doing the initial research to kind of read a paragraph that kind of says something like, you know, our consultants will work with you to develop the perfect look, or that you want something more distinctive or something more natural. So I feel like easing those concerns initially would make me feel so much more comfortable going there and booking an appointment.
I usually talk to people that have done it before, or I try to find people that have done it before. And with that type of stuff, I would go for like the higher end things. I want to make sure that if I'm getting it done, it's done right. And so I would be willing to spend more money on something like that than I would to use a Groupon. Groupons are great for nails and stuff that isn't permanent, or semi-permanent. But with that type of stuff, I would want to go to somewhere I know has a really good reputation.
What do you think?
Okay, am I
You got
correct?
Sage
I
stuff
don't
about
know, but so for like over a month, I was like looking at eyelash extensions, talking to people about it. Everyone that has it, I'm like, who do you go to? Where do you go to? How much was it? And price was like a big factor. But a lot of it, like I was looking on Groupon, and Groupon just has a lot of stock photos, so it looks all fake to me. Like, is that really what I would be getting? Another thing is like cleanliness. Like, you're touching my eyes. Like, how clean is this place? I actually did end up booking one like closer to me for like average price. But doing my research and asking around was a huge factor, and seeing like actual clients and the results was one of the biggest things. And then just the price, seeing like reviews, definitely recommending like who did their lashes was like a huge thing as well.
Yeah, and I'll agree. I think that, you know, similar to what Devin said, when it's something that's either semi-permanent or something that is a little bit more dangerous in terms of potential things that can go wrong, like eyelash extensions or like lash dyeing, that's something, as someone who has bad vision already, is very scary for me. Right? Because you're like, oh gosh, I don't know, like what kind of products do they use? You know, I think something that's really big now in terms of beauty is both being eco-conscious as well as being toxic conscious. Everything's clean, natural now. So helping to dispel any fears by explaining your ingredients, or, you know, listing the types of products that you use is going to be really, really important. Like, I've gotten Botox and fillers before, and it was the kind of thing that I'm like, I'm not even going to look at the price or a Groupon. I'm going to look at my friend whose face actually still moves and looks like a normal human being and ask her where she went. And, you know, that was a really, really big decision. It was something that I wavered on for like 8 years. And
Wow.
you know, those things look see, I don't look like I need it because I got it. But yeah, I think those types of decisions you don't really leave to Groupon. If you have a good place and then you see them on Groupon, even better. But yeah.
So when you're doing your research, where do you go first? I mean, do you just put into Google eyelash extensions? Do you go to Facebook, Instagram? Do you just hit up your friends? Like, where do you go first?
Yeah, I ask
Facebook
on
is huge.
Facebook.
I ask on Facebook.
Facebook, friends. A lot of the times, like, I don't know, Facebook knows me well, so I see like ads about it. Or like a lot of my friends. I don't know.
I think Facebook's easy because you can put out a question like, hey, who's gotten eyelash extensions, whether it's on your personal Facebook page or as part of a group. I ask a lot of those questions in groups. And if someone has a recommendation, they can easily tag a business on Facebook. So again, it like takes away that extra process. It's a seamless transition. Oh, where'd you go for lash extensions? So I went to Lashes R Us on Newbury Street, and they like link it, and then you click, and you're like, oh gosh, this is great. And then you see on their website, their Facebook page, their Instagram, their Twitter. You can go see their before and after photos, a gallery. All of that type of stuff makes it super easy.
Being able to message on Facebook's really
Oh,
like
absolutely.
good because you get a response a lot quicker than if I was going to email you, and I have Messenger on my phone, so I'm able to see when the response comes in right away. I usually always have my phone on me, so I think Messenger is a great tool for people to use, especially if they're on Facebook.
Yeah, and the good thing about Facebook just did a recent update where if you like a business page, it'll automatically open the Messenger app, especially if the business is a responsive business. It'll say, oh, they usually reply immediately, like get in touch with them. So that's a great new feature.
That's awesome. Now, let me ask you, this is another question coming from, our listeners is, so we know Emily has done Botox, but do you prefer, would you prefer doing, injectables or, things that are a little bit more permanent or medical versus at this point, preventative treatments?
I think it's a mix of both. I chose to do Botox because I had one, since the 11th, I had a one that was about 4 millimeters deep. So it was pretty bad. It's something that I've had for a really long time, and I tried creams and stuff like that in the past. I tried the 24 freeze that they try to sell you in the mall, which I'm always insulted when they stop me. But that's definitely the first thing I did. It was something that I wavered on for years, and I did a lot of research about it. And it wasn't like my first course of action, and I actually tried I tried Botox first to see if it would help, and when I still wasn't 100% happy with the results, I then resorted to filler, which I only had 2 courses of that, which reminds me I still have like half a vial of filler I paid for. But I lucked out. Like I haven't done it in probably about like 4 months, and everything stayed, and it's been great. But I definitely think that, preventative treatments, especially now there's so many products on the market, stressing like a preventative regimen and skincare regimens are really good. I don't know. What do you guys think? You guys are young enough not to have to worry about that.
I feel like for preventative treatments, we live in a culture where people really like to project their best self. Like people interpret it as vanity, and I feel like to an extent maybe it is, but not always in a bad way. But I feel like people more so now, because they have a constant image to project throughout all their platforms that they're utilizing, are more prone to maybe not seek them out, particularly if you're like as young as we are, but it would be something nice to see, like if you're offering a service, if you just throw a line saying, like over time, this service can offer this benefit, and it's like, wow, this is just further incentivizing me to do this because of this reason.
Awesome. Thanks. The next question is, what do you look for when you're seeking out employment? So what's important to you when you're seeking out a job?
I really want to know what the work culture is like. How do people get along? Do they get along? Can you communicate with your superiors easily? Are they going to be approachable? And am I going to feel comfortable there? And once I'm comfortable somewhere, I can give off my best work. So I really look for work culture and kind of what type of company it is. It depends on like if I agree with the company's ethics that they're using. I think that's pretty big for me too.
Yeah, I agree with everything Devin says. More who am I working with, who am I communicating, who's my higher up, and see how we all get along. I mean, we could hire somebody and be like, they could do the best work possible, but if they don't get along with the team, like, is it really a great match?
Yeah, and I think one thing that is really important is not to, because I feel like this could be interpreted the wrong way, but an environment that's like fun, but not, like all fun, but you should feel comfortable having conversations with the people that you work with, and that's how you build that workplace camaraderie that's so valuable, because you don't want to dread going into work every day, even if you are doing something that you love. The people that you work with, and like little things like going out to lunch as a team, like maybe like once every like 2 months, or small things like that are very valuable, I think.
Yeah, I think having like a fun, positive energy in the workplace, no matter what it is, really can disseminate down from the top, from the owner down. And as long as I think that like that positive energy, no matter how tough the day can get, no matter how difficult a client might be, or whatever life throws at the position, I think that a positive atmosphere is really very helpful.
Well, that's great. I mean, who doesn't? I mean, we spend so much time at work that, no one wants to dread going to work.
Yeah.
So that's a good point. And then how would you do, a little bit further, so to take that a little bit further, how would you describe your ideal boss or leader? So, I feel that this generation, needs a leader even more than a boss. So that's why I kind of said, boss/leader. But how would you describe your ideal boss/leader?
Someone I can get along with is really important. Someone I can just talk to, maybe not all about work. If I can tell them some, I don't know, what's on my Instagram feed. If I think it's funny, share with them something. That's what I look for. And also just open communication. I look for that a lot in my leaders, and someone I can look up to and kind of inspire to be everyone wants to move up in their workplace. So someone I can inspire to be when I'm a leader.
I think open communication is incredibly valuable. Someone who is confident because they are a leader, they have to, have confidence in the business that they're running or the people that they're managing. But I also think it's important to have the ability to self-assess, and someone who's not just stuck in one way. Someone if an employee were to approach them and offer a suggestion, that it would be received and a conversation would be had. Because I feel as employees, we all have our different perspectives, and it's so valuable to be able to have conversations like that and ultimately strengthen the business.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think of a leader as almost a role model or mentor, so someone that I aspire to be almost. Definitely the open communication. Doesn't always have to be about work. Just respect as well, treating everyone with respect, everyone treated the same is very important to me, not making anyone feel uncomfortable. That's all valued to me.
And one thing I'll add in that's been important to me as well is having someone who is willing to get down in the trenches. Especially whether it's in a position like I'm currently in, or, if you're running the front desk at a spa, and if someone's telling you how to do something or they're barking orders at you, instead of being hey, this is something that we need to work on, let's sit down and go over it together, or how can I help you out? I know that you're doing this, or even, just taking out the trash, little things like that, where you're sharing the responsibilities that you're delegating to someone at some point, really help level the playing field and can help establish that open communication, that camaraderie that was previously mentioned. When someone's saying, okay, do this, and you're if only you knew all the time that went into this. But when someone actually does know the time that goes into it because they've helped you out with it and they've kind of shown you the way, or they step up when you're really struggling, I think that really can open things and make people happy.
Yeah, it says a lot.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's great. And that goes back to kind of leading by example. And, it trickles down from the top. The company's culture will trickle down from the top. So, it's important for our business owners, to, be positive and know their operation and pitch in as a team member in order to get the respect back, from their employees, I think. Thanks, ladies. How do you learn about cool new products and services that you might want to try?
Instagram. Snapchat, Facebook, literally all social media. Or if your friends have it, if your friends have it, they probably saw it on Instagram, and it's it's all connection. But
Yeah.
definitely social media.
I feel like that's where influencers can come in. Influencers like Emily.
Yes.
And she tells us about the brands that have reached out to her, and she has partnerships that are ongoing. But influencers, I think, can be so valuable because whereas like your friend who you go to school with may not be like posting about like the skin products that you use like publicly, but someone like a blogger or someone who has a really strong presence, it's a great platform to engage and offer a service and say maybe you can write a review, maybe you can showcase this new product we got in, because it kind of is the same reaction as a consumer as if like a friend were to recommend it, because you've built up your own form of relationship with this blogger, with this Instagram account, and you kind of feel like them vouching for it or them sharing their honest experience and them recommending something is just it's something that you can trust to be confident in.
Yeah, and I'll echo what Emma was saying. You know, as someone who has seen the other side of the media and like being the influencer, you know, I read a magazine and I'm thinking to myself, what? You've never, like, maybe you tried it out, but basically you're putting stuff in there because people sent you something for free, or maybe they're paying you to write about it. And it really it kind of has like blurred the lines in terms of product recommendations for me. Whereas there are certain people who I follow on social media who I know I can trust. You know, they're not going to peddle anything that comes across their inbox. You know, it drives me crazy when I see mom bloggers pimping out their kids for $50. You know, really, do you really care that much about a package of crackers? Like,
Yeah, totally.
That drives me bananas. So when someone has integrity on social media and it's not just a one and done, you know, I've worked with a company, a local company, and every Wednesday I use their product, and every Wednesday I put it on my Instagram story. And it's just because I have it there and my phone's next to it and I love them. And I think that there's a lot of integrity behind that versus just the one-off, oh, look, I used this type of thing.
One time.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. One time, exactly. And barely, like I tapped it right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point. I have some questions coming in from our listeners, but let me finish up the few questions about spas and brand loyalty. So the spas that are on our call and our SpaHive members, you know, they want to know, you know, how do we attract you best as a customer? And I know when Emily was in Providence, you know, we talked a lot about, you know, the look and feel of the spa and making it comfortable, Instagrammable. But give us some tips on how we can attract you as a customer.
I think it's a lot about the actual business itself. Walking in, do I feel relaxed? Like, do I get a good vibe from the business? Is it clean? Do I like the people I'm talking to? If I have a good customer experience, I'm a lot more willing to come back, and a lot more willing if I'm going to a spa that happens to be more expensive than a Groupon coupon. But that spa gave me a great experience. I'm more willing to spend money there.
Mm-hmm. I think one thing that's really important is when you go to a new place, you're searching for something of value, whether that be a package deal or just something that's, you know, a discount for your first service, or that could also be like you look at their Instagram, you look at their website, you say like, what a beautiful spa! Like this looks very clean, it looks very orderly, it looks well run, the services look great, and that kind of value that you get to advocate for yourself on all of your social platforms, which is like such a valuable tool to utilize. Between that and deals, I feel like that is what really attracts me.
Yeah, I agree. I almost compare it to like looking for a hotel. Like if I'm going to be here and put my it has to be clean no matter what. The ratings of other people, is it a 3-star? Is it a 5-star compared on the Google rating? How welcoming do I feel? Like that's one of the most important things. I've walked into spas many times and they're like, oh, sit down, pick a color, and they forget about you 20 minutes in. I'm like, am I gonna be helped soon? They don't even check on me. So that's one of the biggest things I look for.
Yeah, I agree. And we touched on this a little bit in the Instagram worthy webinar that actually Devin and Emma helped me create. But one of the things that's really important is that feeling you get when you walk in. And a nail salon is going to give you a much different feeling than a full service spa. A nail salon, maybe it's, you know, you're chatty, you're excitable, everyone's busy, everyone's doing things. This is a fun color. You can talk to other people. Have you tried this color? Have you tried this one? Oh, what's this color? You know, and it's kind of fun. It's a much different vibe than a full service spa. When I walk into a full service spa, I know that they've hit the nail on the head when I get my spa voice. And it sounds like this. And I get all slow and relaxed. And if I've gotten my spa voice, it's because there's a reason why. And I don't get that when I go to like a massage envy versus like a full service spa. And that's really the difference. Not that there's anything wrong with massage envy. I think that they're awesome. Sometimes you just want to get in and get out, and that's it.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing, is that, you know, you have to know your customer, and that feel, that brand personality, that projection that you're giving both online as well as in store has to really match what people are looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So you talked a little bit about value. Tell me about how you feel with brand loyalty. So how loyal will you be to a brand? You know, will you, again, kind of Groupon shop and go for the next best deal? If we want to keep you as a customer, how can we create some brand loyalty with you?
I think brand loyalty is like a big question mark when it comes to millennials. A lot of people say that millennials have no loyalty and will just get deals, and I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that we are very conscious of how much money we are spending, and we should be, but also I'm very loyal to some brands, and I'll only buy from that brand or go to that brand for a product. I just had like a great experience with a spa last week, and I already booked my next appointment for it in a different service, and that was all about making me feel welcomed. They gave me like a robe. They really like made me feel like I was in a luxury spa, and it wasn't it wasn't like luxury priced. So that was really nice. So I think just when you're asking for loyalty, you have to kind of give us like a good feeling with you.
Give us a reason why.
Yeah, exactly.
100%.
Go ahead. I
Go
was just
ahead.
going to say, staying on top of mind is really important too. You know, people say that email is dead, and it's really not. It's the first thing that a lot of us check. So whether it's email or social media, staying top of mind by posting things, posting specials, emailing out existing clients, you know, back to school specials. If you guys have a place that you go to, you know, at school, like, are they starting to send out emails? Like, that's the way to really, to keep people engaged and stay top of mind. And, you know, if someone's always in my inbox, they're the first person I'm going to think of. I'm not going to want to think about Groupon if I have a 20% off deal or a 20% off deal at a place I know is going to be good, or 15% off whatever, versus like a 40% off deal for something that's a gamble on Groupon. You know,
you don't feel bombarded with emails.
Yeah, I mean, my money's worth one thing, but my time and experience is worth, you know, a lot more than a dollar value sometimes.
Do you like spas that send you texts?
Yeah, I like reminder texts for when my appointment's coming, but I prefer emails afterwards saying, did you enjoy your experience? One thing I would add is really make me feel like I'm an individual customer. I don't want to feel like I'm like just someone that you lumped in a group and you're asking the same questions to everyone. You might be doing that, and that's fine, but feel like I'm an individual customer.
Yeah, I'm not a
That's
fan
a good
of
point.
Yeah, no, texts I don't like, but reminder texts are I like.
Yeah, as long as you opt in, because I feel like for example, the one time that Apple decided to download that one album and everyone's phone, like you just feel like you're
you too.
Like you
Yeah.
too. You just feel like your privacy has been totally violated. So just making sure that if you are sending text, you know, the customer is asked at checkout, would you like to receive a reminder text from now on for your appointments?
Yeah, I mean, but I know that people who are in the baby boomer generation love text messages. So I think there might be like a little bit of a disconnect there. You know, I don't really like it. it's annoying. Like, don't text me a promo, I'll block your number.
That's good. That's cool. That's very interesting.
The stop option.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Stop. No more.
Yeah.
So a couple more questions that came from our listeners. Let's see. How do you feel about Instagram and Facebook ads? So when you're, searching, do you buy into an ad, or do you just know that the business has bought an ad and disregard it?
Well, so part of my job here is creating Facebook and Instagram ads. So I've created like at least 100 Facebook and Instagram ads. Some of them I'm like, I would never buy this. Like, this is what they want, so this is what they're gonna get, but I would never. And their target is probably 20 to 40, and I'm like, no, like I know as an insider, like I know what I would want, but this is what they want. Sure, I'll give it to them, make them be happy, but a lot of people use stock photos, and and that's where I'm like, that's where the line is. If you're using a stock photo, my expectation is, I hope I get that. I hope I look like that. But in reality, giving your own pictures, spending a little extra money to get the place photograph goes a long way than buying an ad, I don't want to say wasting your money, but buying an ad and using not your products, not a person that went to your spot. It's different.
Right. And I've heard that a few times from you, Sabrina, that it's important not to use stock images.
Yeah, 100%. Just like, even I've done multiple spas, and I'm like, okay, do you have any pictures? They're like, oh, stock images is fine. And it works. I mean, some click on it, but I feel like you'd get a lot more results if you used your own spa, your own pictures, your own clients.
Or even your own employees.
Yeah.
Right.
If anyone goes on SpaHive's website, you might recognize two of the people in the video. Just saying.
Yeah.
I mean, use your own employees, use yourselves. I know I love Facebook ads. I buy stuff from them all the time. Like, I really wish Facebook would stop showing me ads. They're really effective. But like, when they're correctly targeted, like I bought that eyeliner from Thrive Cosmetics, and now like I see their stuff all the time. I bought the Subaru stuff. I just, oh man, I'm a Facebook ad junkie, and I always love it. I love Facebook ads. I think they work. I think they're more, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Instagram, Facebook,
As long as they're done organically. Like you were saying, you want to like build that reputation. Like, I feel like nowadays we're so good at distinguishing what is more like scammy and kind of fake, and do you really want to know that you're like, this is a real service that they're providing, this is a real business, this is a real company. So like, even in like the way you phrase it, like choosing an image that's like you can tell is unique to that spot, and maybe like including a customer review like as part of the text, like little things like that will make me pause when you're going through the feed, because there are so many ads out there. So I think the goal is just to catch the attention enough and appeal enough to just make someone like hesitate and then read more and learn more.
Yeah, specifically with Instagram, it says right there that it's a sponsored ad, but sometimes when I'm going through my feed, I like don't realize it's a sponsored ad until I see that. So really making sure you're my target audience, and that your images are just going to flow naturally with their feed. If I see something that's completely out of the blue, I'm like, why did I get this? Do not show me this again. But if I see something natural, I'm like, oh, that's like pretty unique. Maybe I'll check out their website. I rarely click on the ones on Instagram, but Facebook, I'm much more willing to click on the ads.
Cool. And how about Yelp? We didn't mention Yelp at all. Does anybody use Yelp?
I feel like Yelp's the kind of thing, like, you're right, it's good for restaurants and like also like services like spas, but I feel like Yelp's a very polarizing platform. People either go on because they love it or because you piss them off.
That's true.
Yeah.
There's no in between. And are you guys pretty good at deciphering, like when you go on a Yelp or you go on to, one of these review sites to know, there's like no in between. They're either super happy or they're pissed off. So sometimes you can't take the bad reviews seriously.
Yeah, and sometimes people will just hang on to something, and which is such a shame. Like, we'll hang on to something that is so outside of the realm of what should be reviewed. You know, like, oh, I didn't like their towel color.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, all right, really. But Facebook reviews, I definitely check out.
Yeah.
Because you're already on there.
Right, exactly. Good point. Well, I think, let's see, I think that's the end of our questions. You did mention Google reviews. I think Sabrina mentioned it. I can't remember if anybody else mentioned it, but you guys like Google reviews, right?
Yeah,
it's
they're
just,
really
yeah,
easy
it's
to
really
get,
right
yeah.
there.
Yeah. And it's important, I feel like businesses, I don't know if I'm not sure that I'll do this, but to sign up for the Google My Business so that it makes it much easier for people to find you and for people to write reviews because it's all like right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so, and especially like if you're doing location based, like if you're doing a location based search for services, you know, click on it, oh, 5-star, you know, 20 Google reviews, 5 stars. I'm like, oh gosh, if 20 people actually left a review, because a lot of people don't leave Google reviews. Most people either do like Yelp or Facebook, and I'm like, oh gosh, if 20 people have left a Google review, that means something. So I think that Google reviews, anything that makes things more seamless and breaks down the steps that you have to do, is going to be really valuable for anyone within this target market.
Great. Well, thanks for joining me this morning, ladies. I'm really excited that we were able to share some insights from our millennial friends. And I think that, you know, we're talking to one of the most, you know, technologically aware and aware in general generations. So as marketers, you know, as spa owners and marketers, we need to keep that in mind and know that really the climate of marketing has changed and that the millennials are the future of all of our businesses. So, you know, we want you, you know, so we need to market to you better. And thank you so much for sharing your insights, Emily and Devin and Emma and Sabrina. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.